So reflect on your games, on your matches, on your competitions every time, and ask yourself, so what did I do really well, and what could I have done better? That's 2 questions, but that will bring you also some very good insights. Do you think you have the right mindset to become a professional athlete? Because there are some key elements that are, from my point of view, essential if you want to be successful. And if you only miss one of them, you're most probably struggling or even failing. And in case you are struggling at the moment, feel free to get in touch with me via the TidyCare link to find out how you can boost your mental strength and performance. So let's have a look at these 5 key elements, and make sure that you stay tuned till the end of the video to make sure that you cover all of the 5. In case you're new here, welcome. My name is Steven and I help athletes become mentally strong and successful. In case you've been here before, welcome back. So let's move on and have a look at these 5 key elements that are the basis if you want to become a professional athlete. Point number 1 is traveling. So if you are a professional athlete, in most sports you need to get used to traveling a lot. For example, if you are a professional tennis player, you are traveling roughly between 35 and 45 weeks per year, if not even more. You're playing maybe 25 tournaments. Some players play even more. They play 30 tournaments plus. Then you need to calculate also with some preparation after season. So at the end of the year, towards the end of the year, at some point, maybe after Christmas, you travel, or the professional players, they travel to Australia and get ready for the Australian Open. So they are preparing maybe in Australia or maybe in the States. So they're hardly ever at home actually. So this is really tough. Other example, you're a soccer player and you're playing international soccer on top. So you have roughly between, let's say, 30 and 40 matches, national matches per year. Half of them in general are away matches. So there's always travel involved. If you're an ice hockey player, it's even more. I mean, they play 50, 60 matches per season. And maybe you have world championships to play or some international tournaments. So you're on the road more or less all the time. So very few weeks, let's say, where you can really relax at home and spend time with family and friends. And when talking about traveling, there are some additional challenges you are facing when you're a pro athlete. One thing is loneliness. So you really have to get used to being alone and spending time with yourself, especially when you are in an individual sports like tennis or golf. You don't always have a squad, a team around you, like in ice hockey or in soccer or in football. So this is something that can be also, from my experience, really tough. And this is something you need to bear in mind. So you have to build like a team around you. And not everyone can afford, of course, to travel with a coach or a team. So maybe you have to travel with some other players, tennis buddies, maybe even with your family if it's possible. But I know a lot of players that are traveling actually on their own from tournament A to tournament B to tournament C, and that can be really, really tough. And that's a common issue actually that pro players in tennis, for example, are facing. It's the loneliness. On top, of course, I mean, this is obvious, you are living a life of a vagabond. So you are traveling from one city or one country to the next, and most probably you're living in a hotel or an Airbnb or B&B, and so you have your suitcase and your bags with you all the time, and you can't really settle in where you are because you know exactly I'm going to be here maybe for a few days or a few weeks, and then I'm going to go to the next spot. So that's also something which can be pretty tricky for some players. Homesickness is something that can also be very difficult. Most players at some point, they are just fed up of traveling, and all they want to do is actually get home, spend time with their family and friends, have a good time, instead of spending all these weeks and months on the road. You find the right mindset also, and you find a good way to communicate regularly with your family and friends. I mean, nowadays it's much easier than 30 years ago. For example, when I was playing tennis, it was much more difficult because that was just the beginning of the mobile phone era, and that was super expensive at that time. And it was even more or less difficult to send some emails because you had to go to an internet cafe. Nowadays, everything seems so convenient and so easy. But make sure that when you are traveling, that you communicate regularly with some family and friends. That's really, really important. Another thing you need to bear in mind when talking about traveling, of course, is jet lag. So in case you are traveling big distances between continents, then you will be facing jet lag. So it's important that you adjust to the new time zone as quickly as possible. And there are various strategies how to do this. Make sure that you adjust to the rhythm, so where you arrive, as quickly as possible. So don't stick to your former rhythm, stick to the new rhythm and then adjust. So sometimes this can be very tough because you are super tired, maybe you just want to sleep, but maybe it's daylight and it's the middle of the day where you are now. So make sure that you in between maybe take a nap, a power nap, or even sleep for one cycle, so that's 90 minutes, but then set the alarm so that you don't oversleep the cycle. So you can catch up a little bit and adjust to the new rhythm or the new time zone quicker. One more topic that everyone is facing when traveling a lot in sports, it's boredom. Everyone at some point finds it maybe boring, you know, waiting at the airport or waiting at the tube station, waiting in a hotel until you can go to your practice session or your match. So there's a lot of time actually that can be and should be filled somehow. And there it's important that you stick to some good habits, make the best out of it, and don't waste your time on social media and doom scrolling and streaming and stuff like that. You do this in between, but do it with quality. And then instead of this, get in touch with your family, have a good chat with your good friends at home, at the venue or in the hotel where you are staying. And then make sure that you have some kind of plan also for yourself, so that you don't get the feeling of being lost and being super bored. Boredom is nothing bad, but when it's too much, then you can also feel lonely, and you start sticking to some bad habits, maybe like social media, doom scrolling and stuff like that. So good habits could also be make sure that you get enough active recovery. So go for a massage, do some stretching, do some exercises. Maybe you even want to go to the gym. And in between, when you have the time, check out the city you're staying at, the town. Maybe there's some nice theaters. Maybe there's a theater or a museum you would like to visit. Then make sure that you do this, even if it's on your own. That's better than sitting alone in your Airbnb, in your room or your hotel all the time. So get out of your room, also be a little bit active, but on the other hand, make sure that you get enough rest and to recover. Active recovery, as I said, and also to make sure that you get enough sleep. When you're traveling, also have a clear plan. So I have my first game maybe in 3 days time. So what am I going to do over the next 2 days? So I can't just only sit around and get bored. I need to practice. I need to recover. I need to also have some quality time, maybe with myself. I want to have some quality time with my coach or some buddies I'm traveling together with, hopefully. Or even if that I get in touch with some other players around me, so to make sure that I'm not alone all the time. Then, of course, you need the willpower. This is part of consistency. You need to have the willpower if you want to be a professional athlete. If you don't have enough willpower, motivation, you won't get anywhere in the long run. For that, it's important that we have a clear vision. And a clear vision is something that really makes you smile. So it gives you a very good feeling in your heart and something you want to achieve under all circumstances. And you're willing to work on yourself day in and day out. And that brings the consistency, that gives you the motivation, and that makes sure that you have enough willpower. So make sure that you have your vision. And in case you would like to know more about vision and what it means and how you can achieve it, check out this video about the 4 hikers on their way to the peak. So when being consistent, it means also that you do your homework, that you stick to the plan day in and day out. So there are no excuses. You know exactly, if I want to reach my peak, if I want to reach my vision, and in the end it's about doing your best every day. Number 3 of the key elements is resilience. So you need to be and build up a resilience over the years as an athlete. And especially when you want to be on a pro level, you need to be pretty tough. So what does that mean, to be resilient or tough? It means you need to cope with several things on the way. Number 1 is unfortunately, you need to cope with losses, with defeats. It's impossible that we always win. And if we have the feeling we need to win or we should win and we don't win, well, then we are probably not made for being a professional athlete, because we have to get used to losing, unfortunately, even if we hate it. But this is something we need to adapt to, and on the other hand, this is something that can give us a lot of energy and the motivation again to work on ourselves and to improve, so that we win more in the future and lose less. Another common topic, which can be pretty tough for athletes, of course, is injuries. So we need to cope with injuries from time to time. Some are very lucky in their careers, some are really struggling with numerous injuries, and that is something probably one of the biggest challenges actually as an athlete, because when we're injured, from my experience also as a mental coach, when I work together with athletes and they come here to my praxis, or I work together with them online, and they are just maybe coming back from an injury, there are some of them that are struggling not with the injury itself, but maybe what could happen next time they are in the middle of the game or they have the opponent on the other side. And especially when it's a physical game, like maybe in boxing or in karate or in cycling, coming back, that's one thing, but performing on a high level, on a top level after the injury, that's a different story, because maybe the cyclist had a bad crash. I remember a client of mine, a professional cyclist, coming to me a few years ago, and he had a horrible crash and crashed with 50 Ks and drove right into a wall. And he was super, super lucky because he was hardly injured, but mentally he found it incredibly difficult, because he said, hey, when I go downhill now and I'm so anxious, I'm so scared of crashing again. So we had to work on that, what was more or less stuck in his brain, this negativity, this stress, and had to dissolve it so that he could actually build up confidence again in himself, in his body, and in his skills as a cyclist. So this can be a huge challenge. Also when you have maybe something on the knees, or and then you come back and you have to go 100%, and your team maybe also, like, imagine a soccer player, your team expects, of course, from you 100%, your coaches expect it, and you expect it on top, but in your mind you're just struggling because you're afraid of getting injured again. And this is something you definitely have to work on, and this is also something we need to in some way get used to and then work on it and overcome it. Otherwise we can't be in professional sports. So sometimes professional athlete also needs to handle and cope with some other sorts of setbacks. Maybe someone is sick at home from the family, but still you have an important upcoming match. So what do? You need to focus on the match first, and then afterwards you take care of the family. Or you have the physical, you have the emotional, the mental pain that the whole professional sports life brings with it. So in training, in competition, there's so many things going on in the mind and also emotionally. But you need to be resilient, you need to cope with this and focus on what really counts now, and that's your next competition or your next match. And also when facing maybe some uncomfortable or unfair opponents, or you have a referee, you have the feeling he's on the other side, let's say, but that's something we have to get used to. If we find this horrible and we can't cope with it, then we are lost in professional sports. So get used to it, learn from it, adapt, and then move on. So that's what it actually means to build up resilience. It gives you the power and also the strength, the mental strength to overcome setbacks, to overcome losses, defeats. And that's what it needs when you want to be successful in pro sports. Number 4 of the key elements is be open for critics and also open for improvement, for changes. I mean, life is full of changes, and there are some athletes that tend to be a little bit stubborn, let's say, or narrow-minded, because they think more or less they have invented the game. They have invented the wheel, because maybe they are so good and they are in the world class or in the top 10 ranking of their sports. But the best of the best, they know exactly that they can always learn and improve. And for that, they need to be open and also listen to other people. They make sure that they learn from other people. And sometimes it's just a small element, but that has a big and positive impact on their game and on their level. And this is something that differentiates also the top stars from the very good ones, or the average athletes. So make sure that you're not stubborn, stay open, be open, and then learn from others, learn from read books, maybe biographies from professional athletes, coaches, some other people maybe in business. Learn from them and see what you can maybe also transfer into your game or your performance, so that you can improve. Also, listen to people that are insiders in your sports. So maybe try to find a mentor. You can also get some reflection So this is something that helped me always a lot in my life. There are some very few people, but listen to these people and sometimes ask for a feedback when you have the feeling you need a different perspective. And last but not least, write a self-reflection, ideally regularly every week, maybe even a couple of times. So reflect on your games, on your matches, on your competitions every time, and ask yourself, so what did I do really well, and what could I have done better? That's 2 questions, but that will bring you also some very good insights, so you can improve steadily. And this makes the difference actually also, and this is something you should bear in mind if you want to be a professional athlete with a professional mindset. And then comes point number 5 of the key elements. This is be process oriented and not mainly goal oriented. It's good if you have a goal, and I've mentioned the vision already, so you have a clear vision that's scalable, also measurable. That's fine, but don't focus on this all the time. Instead, focus on what you have influence on, and that's your daily business, that's your daily routine, that's your daily training, that's your games, your competitions. And then from time to time you look up and check out if you're still on the right track in the direction of your vision, your goals, and that's it. Having said that, it's also about being patient. This is probably not the strength of many athletes or people in general, especially nowadays, where everything has to go chugga chugga. Patience is a big value and very important. I mentioned the injury topic already. So when you're injured, it's nothing you can do probably apart from working on your recovery and trying to accelerate your recovery. But you need to be patient. And it's the same with when you're oriented on the goal and you always think, oh no, I'm too slow, I need to improve faster, I should have won the last match, or I should have been under the first 10 in the last competition, things like that. This only brings you down, and you attract actually a negative mindset by doing that. Instead, focus on what you can influence, and that's your daily routine, as I said, the process. So focus on your training, on your repetitions, and that's it. This will bring you automatically in the direction of your vision and your goals, and that's the best you can do. And when talking about daily routines and the process, I would recommend that you create every week, you create a weekly plan. So Monday to Sunday, what is it that you are going to do? What's your plan, your training plan? What are you going to do in the gym? What are you going to do on the pitch or on the playing field? What are you doing mentally? What are you doing maybe regarding sleep and recovery, active recovery? So maybe going to the massage or going for a walk in the nature. That's everything together. That makes that's the cake actually. And by creating a weekly plan, you get a clear structure, and it's going to be up here also, it's going to be super clear for you and easy also to accomplish at some point. So this will give you clarity. Have a look at your plan and be very honest with yourself and check, what have I done, what have I accomplished, and what didn't I do of my tasks, and then count it up, and then what's the percentage in the end. And when you are moving, let's say somewhere 80, 90 plus in percent, then you can say, hey, very good, I'm on a professional path, so I'm acting like a pro. And this is really important. When you have less, don't worry and also don't blame yourself. Instead, try to reflect on it. Why didn't I do this, or why didn't I do that? And then try to do it better the following week. And then regard this as a success, because this is great. And this will also give you a boost and fun, and you will enjoy the ride. And that's what it's about. So this is a success when you accomplish your weekly plan every week. This will bring you closer to your vision and your goals. And then you're going to be super motivated and you're going to have fun on the way to your vision. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked the content. If you did so, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment in the comment section if you have any questions. And in case you would like to know also what it needs or what you should avoid actually if you want to become a professional athlete, have a look at this video here. So see you soon. Bye bye.